I want to now talk about these X-Men rumors, but it's really connected, this X-Men story, to what we just talked about, to the low point within Marvel Studios. Because again, desperate times can sometimes call for desperate measures, right? I'm reminded of the situation with Dragon Ball Evolution, okay? That's probably a movie you never thought would get brought up in polite conversation on a nerdy stream, but just walk with me on this. I want to explain this. Dragon Ball Evolution is a Hollywood live-action adaptation of the Dragon Ball franchise, okay? And it is so bad that people basically think life sentences, capital punishment, Guantanamo Bay, things of this nature would probably be allowed for the folks that made that film. I didn't say that, by the way. That's just a take that's out there. That's how bad Dragon Ball Evolution was. It's an abomination. Truly, someone should be in prison for making that film. However, the irony is the Dragon Ball brand itself had become somewhat of a sleeping giant at that point. Akira Toriyama had this incredible run of actually making the manga, being very involved with the anime adaptation. I mean, this man put out like a manga chapter a week for something like 17 years straight. Just boom, just always there, right? And so he takes his foot off the gas. You get GT, which was whack, but not whack enough to get Toriyama out of retirement. However, Dragon Ball Evolution was so fucking bad that Toriyama was like, I have to come back and I have to save Dragon Ball. So what you get from that point is a Dragon Ball Renaissance. So you get the Battle of Gods movie. That's like Toriyama coming back and saying, no, Hollywood. Like, this is how you do Dragon Ball. I need to save my baby. Fukatsu no F. All the way into Daima. And, of course, we lose Sensei Toriyama, unfortunately. I think a year ago, right? Over a year ago. But the point is this. Sometimes things can go really bad and they can have a positive effect. It can be like a catalyst, right? And that's what happened with Dragon Ball Evolution. Okay, so why am I bringing this up? Well, Friday in the middle of the day, you know, we did our stream in the morning into the afternoon. I actually think didn't we delay the stream a bit? Yeah, we delayed the stream a bit. So we were live at noon. And we were talking about all sorts of things. One of the things we talked about were rumors regarding the X-Men. And there was a whole conversation about a black Charles Xavier, a black Magneto. We had a nice little nerdy debate about that. Kind of gave my take on it as a fan and as a pundit. Well, as we were having that conversation, like literally within an hour, maybe within 2 hours, My Time to Shine, hello, comes out with one of the craziest scoops I've ever seen. Now, there were multiple things that she said before she gave the deets. She gave a little tease of what she was talking about, and I need to pull this up because it's pretty crazy. And this had to do with the X-Men reboot. So I guess slight spoilers here, guys, but really a lot of this is still like up for debate. Take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean Marvel's going to get everything they want in this situation, but this is generally speaking what she has heard about their plan. So, about the X-Men, here's what's happening. No new cast will be introduced in the upcoming Avengers films because the focus is on giving closure to the original characters. Casting hasn't started yet because director Jake Schreier hasn't officially signed on. That's why Sadie Sink isn't playing Jean Grey. That said, there are 3 roles Kevin Feige has specific actors, or at least types, in mind for: Xavier, Magneto, and Storm. The names he's considering feel a bit too big to actually land, but you'll see. I'll mention some soon. Aside from those 3, I haven't heard of any other actors being considered yet. Okay, so that was like her initial thing. And she's basically saying that the only... Because, look, Jeff Snyder and a lot of other people, they're scooping a lot of potential cast members for the X-Men, et cetera, et cetera. And Shiny's kind of downplaying that a bit and sort of saying... The only key roles right now, which are coming from Kevin, are Magneto, Xavier, and Storm. She mentions here that the names he's after are probably too big, and that we will see. Okay, so that was kind of fun. I remember I liked that tweet. I thought all was well. And then she drops this, which I think is just like a fucking bomb, dude. This is nuts. And she said, Daniel Day-Lewis is being eyed to play Magneto in the MCU. Now, I actually had a comment on it. I deleted it. As soon as I saw this, I commented in my usual snarky Josh way, ha 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 ha. All caps, okay? And you know what? I don't think that was necessarily an out-of-pocket reaction. In fact, if you feel the same way, why don't you just type it in a chat right now? It actually felt really good when I said it. If you're feeling the same way that I initially did, throw a ha 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 into the chat. Let's have some fun. So, yeah, my initial reaction was like, there's no fucking way. Now, let me preface this. The reason, look at this. This is so fun. We're having so much fun on a Monday. The reason this is so ridiculous and the reason we can all laugh at it is because Daniel Day-Lewis is the greatest living actor, period. He might be the greatest actor of the last 1,000 years. He might be the greatest actor of the last several thousand years. We don't necessarily 100% know. But the caliber of actor here seems out of place. Like, this would be like, oh, man, I don't even know what a good analogy would be. This is crazy. Like, Daniel Day-Lewis is that, he's that fucking guy. Like, I don't know what else to say. You know, we gushed about this on Friday. We talked about it a lot in our member stream that we had that night. Actually, Rob from Comics Explained chimed in a little bit. We had a nice little conversation about it. Daniel Day-Lewis is like the man, dude. He's so good. Like, this is how good I think he is. He's so good that now, like, let's say he is Magneto, all of a sudden the conversation about who Charles could be becomes way more difficult because it's not just who could embody Charles, it's who could play across this guy. Like, who could we get that would be even close to the caliber of Daniel Day-Lewis? Daniel Day-Lewis is the GOAT. Okay? Like, the GOAT. So, again, I'm laughing at this shit. I was like, there's no fucking way this is true. Like, DDL, get out of here. Like, DDL's the man. There's no way this is going to happen, okay? Well, all of a sudden, I start hearing that it is not a troll. All of a sudden, I started to hear that this was real, and there are other big names involved as well. So I want to pull up another tweet for you, and now we gotta get fucking crazy, okay? So here's a nice little piece of insight here. This is true. He's Marvel's top choice, although he probably won't say yes, which is fair. I think we're all on the same page there. They also want Bryan Cranston to play Professor X and Cynthia Erivo to play Storm. There are multiple people corroborating this report from this guy, too. So all of a sudden, holy shit, this is real. Now, I want to be crystal clear about this. It doesn't mean we're getting Daniel Day-Lewis as Magneto. I hope we do, and like, look, I'll do, I don't know. That would be amazing. I would love that to happen, okay? Doesn't mean that we're going to get that, because everybody's pointing out, you know, Shine from the jump, this guy, when he chimes in, he's probably not going to say yes, you know? I actually can come up with some reasons as to why he might say yes, but it seems like a long shot, okay? But here's what we know this actually means. This is like the truth of the situation from Marvel's end, and it should really give fans some positive feelings. This is how serious and potentially how desperate Marvel Studios is. Okay? And as we said before, it's bad right now. Thunderbolts, doing terribly. Great movie. Gonna bomb. Gonna lose them like $50+ million. That a good Marvel movie is about to lose them $50+ million. Okay? Daredevil can't chart. Mobland's charting on Paramount Plus. More people are it's crazy. Marvel in a bad spot. But what does that mean? It means they know they have to go hard. It means they know they need something big. And of course, the X-Men on its own merit of just being the X-Men, the mutants, that's already going to be big. I mean, potentially big enough to save them to get those numbers up significantly. But what this thinking from Kevin shows that as opposed to, it shows that his goal with the X-Men is to continue in the tradition of trying to elevate the genre. Because if you look at what the Fox X-Men stuff did, and it's not perfect, and there's a lot of like goobly glob stuff, one thing that they absolutely nail is Magneto and Charles. They nail it, and they nail it with multiple sets of actors. It's pretty incredible. And I was really curious, and you know, we thought about, well, if it's going to be Denzel and if it's going to potentially be somebody else that's Charles, Marvel's going in a different direction, and that's how they're going to differentiate. What this feels like to me is that they want to evoke the feeling of the traditional X-Men and just elevate it. And I don't know if it gets more elevated than Daniel Day-Lewis. If they get DDL to be Magneto, okay, and they'd have to sign him to like a multiple thing, right? And they don't, I mean, they could pay him, but it's more like, does he want to spend that time? If they actually got him, this will turn heads. Like, I promise you it will. In a world where Marvel can't seem to buy success, they can't seem to like find a win, and they're trying all sorts of stuff to get people excited and interested in it, I think this kind of a move is a no-brainer and would absolutely crush. I mean, you're talking about, again, what I consider to be the greatest actor of all time playing one of the most important roles ever. Now, on a quick side note here, because I want to talk about the other actors too, including Cynthia and Cranston, because I have good and bad things to say about both of them. I mean, it's just not as perfect as this right here with DDL, right? It's not as perfect. So let's just get hypothetical for a second here. Why would he possibly say yes to this? Now, this is a dude that was retired, and as far as I understand it, was literally a shoe cobbler. He was cobbling shoes. That's what he wanted to do. Like, dude, wild bull. It's a wild bull we're talking about, right? So he's like the greatest actor of all time. He gives it all up. He wants to cobble shoes. Hey, whatever you want to do. So technically, he comes out of retirement to act in his son's new movie. So his son, director, on the scene, he comes out of retirement to act in the movie his son is directing. Well, Kevin, are you paying attention? Because there's one really quick way to potentially get the DDO, and that would be, of course, to hire his son to direct your movies. And and here's the thing, okay? I have issues with nepotism. Not a big fan of the LeBron Bronny situation, as most of my chat and subscribers know. We've gotten into more than a few scuffles about it on the Discord. It's all good if you feel differently, but I don't like LeBum. But in this case, fuck it. In this case, fuck it. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Hey, DDL's son, you want to direct the next Avengers vs. X-Men, every goddamn movie? I'd let this fucking kid direct every movie in the next 5 years if it means I get to lock DDL up, okay? So that's number one. That's one reason he might do it. By the way, Marvel, for the love of God, I hope you figured some of this out too. I would assume you have. But then again, I don't know. These days, it's a little questionable. Okay, anyway. Why else would he do it? Ironically, I think he might do it because there could be a desire at this time, mostly because of Kanye, to have a strong Jewish superhero. And so you could maybe see, DDL's Jewish. You could see the greatest actor of all time, who's Jewish, potentially want to play one of the dopest Jewish characters of all fucking time. Maybe the strongest Jewish character there ever was. This fucking guy, man, I tell you. So that's a potential reason. That's a potential reason right there. Another reason. Hollywood might be fucked, man. We talk a lot about, he's Jewish. He's a German Jew. Yeah. That's why I don't look at chat, though. I'm going to close this window right now. Thanks, though. So next reason he might do it. Cinema's kind of fucked. Now, we talk about Marvel and they look bad. Yes, it's not great right now. They're kind of fucked. But Hollywood itself, man, I mean, look at the numbers. It's pretty not great. Warner Brothers is having some success lately. It's really interesting to watch this kind of flip, right? Where they're actually doing really well with like Minecraft Sinners. They just had a smash hit with the new Final Destination project. So like they're finding a way. But for the most part, the theaters have been struggling big time, bro. Like it's just crazy. And if there were an opportunity, like if I were Kevin, I would use the exact 3 things that I'm mentioning right now to try to win him over. If I somehow got a meeting or even we were able to talk to his people, I would pitch it in a trifecta. You know, I would be like, well, first of all, we think you could help save cinema. Second of all, you could play the dopest Jewish character maybe ever and ball the fuck out as Magneto. And then the third one, we'll let your son direct whatever you want. Signed, sealed, and delivered, baby. And I don't know if any of that's going to happen. I'm just speculating. I'm just talking about how I would get it. And I think there are a couple of potential reasons as to why he might be interested. In all seriousness, I do wonder what goes through the mind of a person like Daniel Day-Lewis. He doesn't really need any more accolades. I don't think he needs any more money, although the tariff thing hasn't exactly shaken out yet. So again, maybe there's a potential an angle there with just simply the money. But I think the only thing that might actually get through to a guy like DDL would be that, hey man, cinema's pretty down right now. And if you came back to play this epic of a character, I truly think it would put butts in seats and revitalize a portion of the movie-going audience. I think that might be a legit way to kind of get him to come on board. And also a bunch of money, of course. So that's crazy. Okay, so that in and of itself is pretty crazy. But let's talk about some of these others here. So let's talk about Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston. I gotta say, I don't see it as much as I see it with DDL, of course. I mean, dude, he kind of looks like Magneto, too. It's wild. Like, that's such a perfect pick. But I trust the caliber of actor that I think Cranston is. Like, I think Cranston is really good. I think he's very slept on. I think he's got the chops to do something like this, and he could absolutely, like, there's something magical that kind of happens when you get two really, or more than two, really good actors together. Really good actors, okay? Sometimes they will find something and really play off of each other. I think one of the best examples of this is if you've ever seen Birdman, there's a scene between Michael Keaton and Ed Norton when they're first workshopping this scene together. It's when Norton's character first arrives to potentially try out to be the guy in the play. And there's something fucking magical about that scene. And one of the things I love about that movie is how it captures like a raw play stage environment with these actors. It feels like the director really caught an organic moment between these two characters on a stage. And but it still works as seen in an actual film. You just find something. And between Cranston and DDL, we could be getting some all-time great comic book sequences. You know, I think one of the best we've gotten recently, ironically, is in Daredevil, between Frank Castle and Daredevil. Charlie Cox and John Bernthal. They put in literally one of the best scenes I've ever seen in the genre. It was powerful, palpable. It was crazy. We'd be getting something really crazy with Bryan Cranston. So I think Cranston would be a good pick. It's a little tough for me, mostly because the Walter White thing is just so imprinted in my brain that I could see him more as Lex Luthor than I could see him as Charles. Charles has to have a soft sort of nature to him. Now, in comics, Charles is ambiguous. He has a weird edge. There's like dark sides to the Charles character. But for the most part, Charles in the movies just works as like the dad, the kind, thoughtful leader, the one that wants peace and not war, all of these different things, right? So you need to not have a crazy hard edge to you. So I have a little trouble just imagining Cranston I almost feel like he'd be too intense for Charles, but then again, he's maybe across from DDL, right? So that's crazy. Here's the thing I'll say about Cynthia, man. I have actually never watched her in anything. Now, the immediate criticism that a lot of people have from Cynthia is she doesn't look atypically, like, beautiful or stunning, okay? And that's not to be rude. She has a sort of unique look to her that isn't, I think, stereotypically, asymmetrically, you know, however you want to say it. It's not to, like, the typical beauty standards, all right? And for a lot of people, that is going to be a hang-up, and it's a hang-up with me. I personally think Storm needs to be, like, undeniably beautiful. And what that means is probably stereotypically beautiful, frankly. Just so goddamn beautiful. And there's actually a couple of interesting picks here. This person, the main middleman. Oh, let me get this pulled up for you. The main middleman here has a couple of other picks. It says that Marvel Studios has approached Kirby Howell-Baptiste and Jodie Turner-Smith for the roles of Storm. I would argue both of them are a little bit more stereotypically beautiful than Cynthia. Here's the thing, though. The one thing I will say, and again, it is sort of a thing where it's like, that is a hang-up. However, from what I understand, Cynthia is a Broadway actress that is just absolutely incredible. So meaning with certain makeup and aesthetic changes, you could make her look more attractive. You could actually make her look more like comic book Storm. And what's underlying is that you have an actress of the caliber of maybe some of these other male counterparts that we're talking about. We're talking about Cranston and, you know, we're talking about DDL. From what I understand, and I'm not a Broadway guy, but some of the people I've spoken to say the reason Cynthia is being looked at is because she has the chops at the level of some of these other male counterparts that they want to be really important to the overall mutant thing. So, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I personally think, like, I guess what I would say is, like, I think Jodie maybe has the closest look to what I would imagine Storm to look like, but I don't know that she has the chops to really put in a crazy performance in the way that Cynthia did. So it's interesting, man. They're looking at a lot of things right now, and I think the overall take is that they're going for high caliber actors, really, really high caliber actors, and I think they want to elevate the story that could be told with those characters in the MCU, and it's a big deal. I mean, these are not just important comic book characters, but I think they've really earned their place in the zeitgeist as far as the relevance of these characters, their struggle to just the ethos and to how people perceive not only their change from being a child into adolescence, but the change that they might face for being different for whatever reason. Obviously an allegory for civil rights and those sort of things. So the X-Men in those stories, it's a big, big deal. Not to mention just incredibly fucking popular. People love these characters, right? So this is a little peek behind the curtain here at what the Marvel plan is. And I do think it's fair to say this connects to Thunderbolts and Daredevil, where we're like, oh, wow, shit's really bad right now. And Marvel's like, yeah, it is. We better swing for the goddamn fences. And I would say you're trying to get Daniel Day-Lewis to be Magneto. That's swinging for the fences. Thanks for watching. And if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.